0. Hello, everybody. How you doing today? It is a new day. It's a fresh day. I hope you're up shaking and baking. So I always say that all the guests on the podcast are fascinating and amazing people. So I want to start by asking all of you a question. How would you like to 10x your revenue in your business? How would you like to have a clear strategy for your business in 2025? And the man I'm about to interview here has the answer and more to a lot of those questions. Mr. Ezekiel Solesi, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity.
Yeah, so this guy runs one of the largest strategy businesses in Africa. Like literally. They have that industry locked down, So
Thank you so
Ezekiel, first of all, I want to start by asking, what is strategy? What is a business strategy?
So I will give you one of the definitions that I like. It's not mine. It's by Professor Donald Saul of London Business School. So he says that strategy is how organizations create, capture, and sustain economic growth. Right? So, and the way I understand that definition is if you think about anybody who wants to start anything, say you want to start a bottled water business, right? You want to start a business, first you have to create value, right? So the bottled water, and eventually you decide I want to capture some of that value. Even if you're the first person to create a bottled water business, for those of us in Nigeria, we know that before bottled water, there's, pure water,
Sachet water.
then there was cold ice water, then there was ice water to create, but
Yes.
so it's all water until you say, oh, because why should somebody pay a lot of money just to have less quantity of water in a bottle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to figure out how to capture that. When you then capture that value, right, you then have to sustain it, which is where
Yes.
a lot of businesses don't realize that sustaining being number one is harder than even trying to be number one in the first place. So typically the way I see strategy or strategy development is an understanding of the markets plus competitive advantage plus managing the risk of that competitive advantage. So, when you are strategizing, you have to understand the market, right? And then you then have to be different, create some form of difference. But every time you decide to do something, you are deciding not to do something else, right? And now you have to manage the risk of that, right? There are two fast food chains that we use as case study in our meetings. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention names here, but
Sure, you can, yeah.
So the fight between KFC and Chicken Republic. Most people look at Chicken Republic's referral package, which was sort of like a game changer for them, but they didn't realize that it wasn't Chicken Republic that created that product. It was actually KFC. So when the KFC got into the market, this is my, I wasn't in the room when decisions were made, but this is my analysis. When KFC gets into the market, KFC decided, look, we're going to go and we're going to attack the brand that supposedly is mimicking us here in Nigeria. So they set up most of their stores right beside the Chicken Republic.
Yeah, I noticed that in Lagos.
So when they did that, the first thing Chicken Republic did, they went on a rebranding spree. So they elevated the value of their restaurants. As they elevated the value of their restaurants, it looked like Chicken Republic was trying to hold their own. KFC then came up with something called Streetwise, at least for Lagos. They came up with this meal called Streetwise. It was 1,200. It was supposed to be the budget version of the expensive meals you buy at KFC.
Yeah.
Like I say in my class, sometimes you create a street product and you're not really on the street, right? So Chicken Republic responded with their referral package for 500 naira, and it appeared to seem as though they blew KFC out of the water, at least for that market. KFC then decided to, reorganize their expansion plan to just stay in high-end malls and high-end areas and the likes, but KFC Chicken Republic held their own, because when KFC made a decision to do something, they were making a decision not to do something else, which is the decision that Chicken Republic then did.
Yeah.
Right? So when you are trying to create strategy, you have to understand the market you're playing, because KFC saying that they created a streetwise packet. It was supposed to be for, but it was supposed to take people from going to Mama Puts to come to them. But they maybe overestimated how rich Nigerians were. So in Nigerian, streetwise was 500. Because when KFC moved into that 500 naira product, what happened was that people thought, look, why would I go to a woman down the street and go and buy food if I could go to a dignified place like Chicken Republic and go and buy food and feel like I'm somebody? You get the feel-good factor and you still get it at the budget price. So when a business is strategizing, you must understand the market you're playing very well, then create a competitive advantage, right? You have to tilt. A perfect market does not serve anybody. A perfect market is where everybody does everything like everybody else. The only thing that thrives in such a market is a price war, and price war kills everybody eventually.
Yeah.
The goal of strategy is to create imbalance in the market in your favor. But when you're creating that imbalance, you need to check it, because the decision to do something is inevitably the decision not to do something else. And if there's something you're missing, owners going to take advantage of it.
Very, very powerful.
And we've seen a lot of that. We've seen Coca-Cola, Biggie, we've seen all this stuff, in the market.
I wonder where is Biggie now? Are they still doing well? Because at some point they were giving Coca-Cola a run for their money in Lagos.
So they settled into their place, and it was a place that Coca-Cola allowed them to take.
Maybe at the bottom of the pyramid, yes, part of the market.
It was a place that Coca-Cola allowed them to take, but Coca-Cola is doing okay. They're doing okay. So usually we like to dive into those simple, very, very simple things. If we have time, I'll probably get into my version of the story as to how Biggie took some part of the
share with us. So for context, for those of us who live in the UK, because we have a lot of international people watching, listening to the podcast, Biggie is a challenger brand.
Yes.
Coca-Cola is a big elephant. And at some point, Biggie was a threat to Coca-Cola. Like, seriously, it was a threat to Coca-Cola. All right, yes. So I want Ezekiel now to give his strategy. I let him unpack that. So I want you, as you listen within the context of your own industry, you are probably a challenger brand to a big elephant in your industry. So you probably may learn something from what it's about to say. But so go ahead, bro.
So again, this is just my version of, just an observer looking in. So what happened, I think that, of course, Biggie created their versions of Coca-Cola. They created their versions of Fanta. They created their versions of all this. And then they were just a normal brand, just trying to find their way in. And then Coca-Cola presented them with a golden opportunity. Now, what was that golden opportunity? A bottle of Coke used to be in traffic. So we underestimate, see those guys that hawk on the streets? Those guys are massive determinants of product entry. Now, Coca-Cola changed their product to, and the final retail price was 120 naira. And it was 50 cl, it was 120 naira. And I guess that's where Biggie saw the opportunity. They made it 60 cl and they kept it at the final price being 100 naira. Now, where the opportunity then came is, you've lived in Lagos, so you know that we have people who hawk on the streets. You see these guys that hawk on the streets, what determines the product that they accept is the speed of transaction. So,
of course, yeah.
Products you buy, because the car is moving, right? You give them 200, they give you 100 naira, things shift. The moment that thing became 120 naira, it slowed down that transaction. Now, there's too much calculation that needs to go into play. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Do I give you 18 naira? Or do you have 20 naira? Then you give me 120? That kind of thing. That small shift was how Biggie entered into the market. Because Biggie became the alternative. It's 100 naira transaction is fast. Now, right. I know that it was the speed of transaction and not the cost. It was because at that time, when it looked as if Biggie and Coca-Cola was losing, Coca-Cola then created a second variant of the product that was 35 cl and it was 70 naira. But that also didn't enter into the market because in that space, it was speed of transaction. So all those guys who are buying, they buy Biggie Cola, they get used to Biggie Cola in traffic. When they want to do their birthday, they will ask for Biggie Cola. When they want to do their wedding, they will ask for Biggie Cola. So what happened was that in some parts of Lagos, Biggie Cola was all over the place in some highbrow part of Lagos. And one of the ways I think Coca-Cola was able to recover themselves was to play to emotion. So I don't know if you remember the time when Coca-Cola now started this, where you could find your own name on the
Yeah.
bottle.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
find your name, and then
Yeah.
the frenzy
Yeah.
up again. And somehow, some way, they were able to figure out how to get Biggie. Biggie, they're still there, but I don't think that there's so much of a threat to Coca-Cola anymore. But at that point in time, they
Wow.
made it
That's
then,
so
and they made their
powerful.
money. So it's about
Powerful.
understanding, which is why I said, like, understanding the market, like what's the driver of our market. Now, in the boardrooms in Coca-Cola, they might not have figured out that traffic, those guys hawking in traffic were key stakeholders for their products. So they might not have realized it, but those guys are key stakeholders for their products. And whenever you want to shift pricing, you must consider those guys. And the thing motivate business for those people is not more money or less money, is that the transaction is fast. So when something is fast, they can quickly, it would have paid them to have moved the product to 150 naira
Yeah.
and to have left it at 120 naira. They might
So
not
powerful.
they might not have maybe had such a bad hit. I mean, that's my own version. I'm sure some other people inside those boardrooms might have a different opinion, but just looking outward, from outside looking in, that's just my
I
own.
think your internet is a bit slow.
Hey, my network. Is it my network? I think it's my network. Is it my
Yeah, continue. No, but continue. Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, so I'm sure other people have other opinions, but I'm just looking from outside looking in and saying, okay, why did these guys, have such a big,
Yeah.
and you would notice
Yeah.
even when Biggie Cola got big, it wasn't a lot of the elites didn't really bother about it. It was the bottom of the pyramid people that sort of shifted. And we know
Yeah.
that we know they caused a huge shift because everybody started moving to 60 CL, right? Pepsi moved to 60 CL, Cola
Yeah.
moved to 60 CL. Everybody dropped their prices. Everybody, I mean, a full-blown price war ensued, and eventually everybody settled into their normal place. Maybe Coca-Cola took first, Pepsi had a good second, maybe Biggie Cola had their third, and then everybody else figured out the rest of the market.
Very good. Very good. I mean, I think the nuts and bolts of that is also that no matter how mature an industry is, if you really look deep, there are gaps
Yeah, they always are.
that a challenger brand can exploit.
Yes, now, because, when a business gets big, no matter how vigilant you are as a big business, you get cocky. You get cocky. You assume a lot of things, and even me as somebody, as a person of faith, I'm having to even watch myself, because you see, as you get more successful in life, right, you start to make assumptions about how people should treat you, and a lot of things that shouldn't annoy you just annoy you anyhow. I had an episode like that, this morning. I went to drop my son at robotics class, and something happened, and I was just upset. But I said, look, this thing, like a couple of years ago, would not upset me. I mean, it might bother me, but it won't upset me. So why am I? But it happens, as people become more successful, they get cocky. They miss out on a couple of things. And that's the reason why that's the reason most times you see a massive innovation oftentimes don't come from big companies.
Yeah.
It has to be either a small company or a company that is run like a small company, and, they can. So once you're able to do that, why not?
Fantastic. Why do you think businesses in Africa and in Nigeria find it difficult sometimes to compete globally? Why do we struggle like that? Is it a strategy problem?
So because a lot of us don't create businesses, really, what we create is something called special purpose vehicles, much like our parents. You see, for most of our parents, they didn't really want a business. They just wanted a special purpose vehicle that can pay school fees. And so when school fees is paid, they chill. They act like, that's why you see them now. You walk into their shop, they look at you anyhow, they chase you away because they know that if you don't buy, someone else will come and buy. And when they pay school fees, they're not very bothered. So the reason why I found is, at least in my own work, we've been privileged to work with 5,000. Most businesses in Africa think too small. And it's not entirely our fault. It's that there's so much poverty around that it doesn't take much to feel like you're doing well. It doesn't take much, decent house, nice car, the opportunity to travel once or twice out of the country. And now just even, now, just drive an SUV past your estate gates. They're hailing you. Now, so I'm fortunate to have a few cars, and I have one small car and I have one very big car. When I'm driving, everybody will be hailing me. One day, I went to pick up a friend of mine at the airport, and we're driving into my estate. I've lived in this estate for years, but they are used to seeing me maybe in a G6, in my G63, so I'm driving in a small Camry, and this guy stops me and asks me who I was going to go and see, and that I should collect a gate pass when I'm coming out. That's the guy that has helped me for years. Now, that type of person now telling me that I've not achieved anything in my life. Now, how do you think I'm going to feel? So you see small businesses, and the problem is that if you are a small business, no matter how much you make, you are endangered. You have to grow big enough for the economy and the government to not afford for you to lose. Like take Dangote, for example. Nigeria cannot afford that he loses. So he gets what he wants, at least within the context of the law, right? So, but most of us, we don't think big enough. We don't want to build big businesses, and the likes. And you see it in somebody saying, maybe somebody has made 100 million or 1 billion now, 2 billion now. They are thinking about diversifying into what? You have not edged into the industry. You have not deepened your roots. You're not number one. You're not number two. You're already saying that, you want to create another stream. What other stream are you talking about?
I like this.
And it's people like us. It's people like us that destroy people's life. We tell people, hey, you know what? Bill Gates has 12 streams of income.
No, I do not advocate that, because, for example, I play a lot in the real estate space, right? And one thing that I began to notice is that a real estate sales agent or salesperson is doing very, very well. They do over $1 billion in commissions.
Yes.
And the next thing they want to do, they want to start developing.
Yes, it's a scam.
And their problem has just started. I said to them, you have not even gone deep in the sales team. What are you doing?
It should not enter.
So it's an ego thing to say, okay, I have this.
Yes, now.
So it's okay, just hold that thought there. Let's take a message from our sponsors. Hello, everybody. This episode of the Powerful Podcast was sponsored by Sales Factory Recruiting. So do you want great salespeople? Do you want great salespeople to help you sell your product or your service? Are you a founder and you need capable salespeople to represent your business? Then we've got your answers for you. We've got a pool of capable salespeople to help take your business, your sales to the next level. If you're a salesperson listening and you want a job in sales, click on the link in the show notes and submit your resume. If you are also a founder or a CEO and you need salespeople as well, click on the link and submit your intention for that. So off the back of that, we can help you get the right salespeople to grow your business. Second advertiser for this episode is the sales letter. The sales letter is a sales letter where once a week I drop sales tips, interview sales leaders so can help you sell more of your product and your service. Let's get back to the episode with the strategy guru himself, Mr. Ezekiel Solesi.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. I like the fact that when you said that we don't really think big enough.
No, we don't. We don't at all. And it's unfortunate because we have a market that is very identical to the US market. In terms of market size, in terms of energy, entrepreneurial energy. So what it means is that we could build something as big as what the US has built. And we should be able to do that. But the problem is a lot of us think a little too small, right? So, and I would be honest, I'll be the first to say that I maybe just got cured of that, maybe a little less than a decade ago.
Tell us that. How did you get cured of that? Because I know that to even join your mastermind is 50.
Yes, it is. So what happened to me was, so I'd always been an ardent follower of Tony Robbins. So I mean, and I've been fortunate to go to a number of his events. But I went to an event in 2017. There were 16,000 of us in that event.
Tony Robbins event.
Yes, 16,000 of us. Was in it was in Vegas. Tony Robbins spoke at the event, and I just did it. I just did the maths, and I was like, I bought a regular ticket. I didn't even buy all this, I told people like, it's in Nigeria we try. If somebody gives you money for training, you have to feed them till they die. The one that we bought, there was no feeding. There was 2 hours break for feeding. Go and look for your food. It's not even that bought VIP ticket that got food. But I looked at that event and I said, why not? Why can't we do these kind of things? So I got back and I said, I'm going to start doing. It was about that time that we shifted from the entrepreneurial meetup that we used to do and started doing Strategy Factory. And so I said, look, where's the best hotel? Do you understand? All of the things, we stopped doing anything that was not in the number 1 or number 2 location. And we just started, I started to benchmark, against Tony Robbins Institute, right? I stopped benchmarking with anybody that I could see around. So I would attend from then, I would read all of this. I started reading this first book I read was Awakening Giant Within, was in 2004. But then I became very, serious about reading everything that I could find, attending all the events. I would fly, I would attend any of this event, I would do the virtual version, I would do all of the kind of stuff. And as I started to do that, I had a couple of entrepreneurs around me and I said, what if we built big businesses? And at that time, my philosophy also shifted. I realized that the reason why we build small businesses, why businesses don't last, is because all of us, myself inclusive at the time, were only building for ourselves. And so we then developed a philosophy within the company and said, look, the philosophy that we wanted to guide our entire community was build a business that will represent the dreams of your staff. So it's to say, look, you are okay as an entrepreneur, right? It's okay. But how many people that work for you can get to your level of comfort, say 5 years time, 7 years time? What's the pathway? Because do you have a dream big enough that if somebody's working for you, who's loyal, who's competent, who's useful, who's valuable, and consistently upgrades themselves, would they have an opportunity to be able to achieve what you've achieved?
Yeah.
The perfect postal person for that in Nigeria is Tony Lumile. I mean, everybody sees him, right? I followed him maybe the last 14, 15 years, and you see all the people around him is almost had the same core people, right? Just, Dr. Owen was at Transcorp, then the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, then she moved to Transcorp Power, then she's that Transcorp Group. You see all of them move around, and you realize that, look, that's why he's sitting on 3 businesses that are over $1 trillion in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, right? Because the people who work in his organization don't need to have another dream. Everything they dreamed of can happen inside the business. And I realized also that that's also the key to this sustainability in your business or structure that we talk about and all that, is that for your business to function without you, for your business to grow without you, the opportunity in that business for the person who works for you must be bigger than the dream that they can come up with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this opportunity has to be the best thing that they have. If it's the best thing that they have, guess what? They'll give it everything they've got. And if you've proven, like Tony and some of these guys have proven, that you would reward hard work, along the way, not just bring people from anywhere and the like. Then I now started to encourage people in our community to say, look, can we just stop measuring how much we're making by what's happening in the country? Shift your measuring scale to dollars, right? Start traveling, So we try to do, even for my staff, by the grace of God, every year, every single staff gets a trip abroad. And so why do we do that? We do that first I did that because I get the opportunity, why can't they? But we started to realize that as they go and come back, the level of precision, the level of attention to detail that we notice in our work is a lot high now. So when you're trying to explain something, they get it because they've been to Qatar, maybe they've been to this place, they've been to some of this place, they've seen some of these things at the highest level, right? So I figured that if you start building businesses for more than just yourself and your children, and you started building it for your staff, being that you want them to be able to access, we're not saying you should dash anybody money. We're saying that let people work hard, let them qualify, but let the opportunity be available that if somebody wants to grow and wants to live at the level that Paul Ford lives or at the level that Ezekiel lives, and the person works in the organization, the person should see a path, or else the guy is going to work with you until he finds a better opportunity.
Yeah.
And so once we're building because of those people, what happens is that the business gets bigger. Then maybe at some point you start building like Dangote, you build for the community. So Dangote didn't create the refinery because he probably needed to make more money. He knew what he was getting into. He knew he was going to get into a huge fight with the cabal and all that. But he created it because, you know what? It's disgraceful for an entire country not to have any refinery.
Refining, yeah.
Right? He's doing cement. He's doing all these things because he's building for the community now. Right? So on one hand, you can build for yourself, or you can go beyond and build for your staff, or you can go beyond and then build for community. If you're doing all of that, and you can hear that narrative from Tony Numelu as well, right? He's building electricity or building hospitality. And when you hear it is about African capitalism, it's about we taking charge of what's happening. So we have to find bigger reasons. So most entrepreneurs are not building big businesses because there's no reason to, right? They are building for themselves and they are okay. They have a nice car. They can go to multiple places in a year. They can enjoy the pleasures of life. And so once you hit that level, you stop being creative. The perfect example, and I'll say this before I allow you to ask the next question. The perfect example I tell people is, think about it. You set a goal for yourself for February. Today is February 17th. Set a goal for yourself for February. You want to sell 100 million naira. You want to make 100 million naira in sales. It's the 7th of February. 7th of February, you're already at 95 million. You know what's going to happen? We're going to lose our edge. Somebody's going to call us at 9:30 or 10:30 in the night, and we're going to don't people understand work-life balance? What is this? Don't they realize that people was right? They same you. It's February. It's February 27th. You have a 100 million naira goal. You've only done 5 million. A guy that you've been working with that's supposed to get you a 150 million naira sale is calling you at 11 o'clock on 27th. You'll be very official. Good afternoon, sir, or good evening, sir. My name is Ezekiel. How are you? Why? The difference is just how far away we are to our goal. So if businesses are small, it's because they set a goal, they've hit the goal, they're fine.
Yeah.
And it's because they're only building for themselves. If we start building for our families, if we start building for our staff, if we start building for the community, maybe we'll have a much more bigger business.
Just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with building for yourself.
Oh, nothing wrong, go. Nothing wrong.
So don't feel bad. There's nothing wrong.
No, there's nothing wrong.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Not everybody have that grace.
And you please don't build for your staff to be able to access great quality of life. You might never, ever, ever be able, that business might never be able to grow without you.
Yeah.
Because nobody's motivated enough for it to be their job, their life's work rather. And so you would lose some of your best people at certain times, and you would always have to retrain.
Spot on.
That's the challenge.
Spot on. Ezekiel, if you had to do your business limp simple all over again, what are the top 2 skills you will go hard on?
If I have to do it all over again, so there were things that I did at the beginning, but I would probably just go hard on it. I was talking to somebody yesterday night, and I think personally, the reason why we have experienced the level of success that we have experienced is because I've had a stupendous. I do 9,000 calls a year on my business, and everybody else on my team averages 6,000 calls a year. Doesn't matter what you do in the business. Everybody from 2 to 5 is on the phone. And the reason why we do that is not just because we're trying to sell. In fact, most of the time, we don't really sell directly. What we try to do is educational marketing. So we call, we try to understand the person's business, figure out what the problem is, see if we can solve 1, 2 problems on the phone, and then upsell them to something. But I realized that that thing was very powerful for me because having done it, at least personally, I've been consistently doing it for 12 years now. Having done that for 12 years, right now, anytime I'm sitting in a room and they're discussing any problem, it almost always sounds like something I've heard before.
Yeah.
Because, I tell people that all the problems in this world, they're not up to like 14, right? They just come in different ways and all that. So if I were going to do that, because when I started my career, I didn't do that, right? I did a lot of things, in groups, and it wasn't bad. But I liked the fact that I could, sit in front of somebody or pick up the phone and talk to somebody, and the person had a problem, and I was tasked to having to help the person find an idea that could solve the problem on the spot. So it sort of helped juggle my mind, gave me a lot of tools, and, helped me to improve myself significantly so that I can be useful to the people that I'm working for. And if I'm useful to the people I'm working for, Mike Murdoch said, "What you make happen for others, God makes happen for you." Right. So, so if I can make something happen for other people, I trust that, God would make it for me also.
Exactly.
So that's the first thing. I think I would have more one-on-one conversations. I would have a lot more one-on-one conversations. And I think the second thing that I would have done is that I would have taken marketing a lot more seriously. I didn't take marketing seriously until 2019. It wasn't a serious thing. It wasn't a conversation in my office until 2019, 2020. And I've seen how it's massively, massively changed our business the last 6 years. So I would have taken it a lot seriously. There are a couple of things that we've done at least. So every year now, marketing is a huge part of our
budget.
Yeah, massive part of our budget. And it's now become a massive part of our budget because we've realized that, yes, marketing gets people to know you, like you, and trust you. But it's also gotten a lot of people who already know us to shift their perception of us. And that's the part that I think that we like the most, because we have a lot of people in our environment, in our community rather, who have been in our community for years. They are getting all this free knowledge and all that, but haven't seen how other people see us, shift the way they see us. And then now, because almost 80-90% of the people who buy our mastermind program, who do all of that, they're inside our community. So these are people that have known us for years, right?
Yeah.
To be able to get them to shift how they see us and, start to pay at that level, for me, that I think is the biggest win. So I would do a lot more. I would talk to a lot more people individually more, and I'll do a lot more marketing.
What are the marketing channels that have worked for you in the past? And if you could recommend, if you could say, okay, if you're starting a business, you should look at this. I was in Lagos like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. I think I saw your billboards.
Yes.
That's a channel. But what are the marketing channels that have worked for you? So let's go a bit deep on that.
So we have about 11 that we have identified. So every month, at the end of the month, we look through all the people that did business with us that month, and we try to see if we can connect them to all the different channels. So the first of them, of course, is digital ads, right? I believe everybody should do digital ads. Except, in fact, I dare say that not doing digital ads is a proof of pride. Is that because this is how it sounds. If you don't want to do digital ads, this is exactly what you're asking God to do. You're asking God to wake somebody in the middle of the night, call your phone number, call your house address, tell the person to call you and give
you business.
That's exactly what it's saying.
I like that.
And the pride is thinking, right? So do digital ads, because that's the only way somebody who's not your brother, your sister, your cousin can hear about you, can see you, can know you. Yeah. Right? So digital ads. I remember a lady, I was doing a session somewhere, I think it was 2020, 2021. She said after that class, she started doing digital ads, just 10,000, doesn't matter, just 10,000. She was doing 10,000 every month. And about 2 years, a couple of months in, one guy she developed 10 leads. One guy bought a property worth 4 million from her, right? And 2 years later, the guy did business of $1 billion with her. So even if she wasn't doing any of those ads, she wouldn't have met the guy. Right? So ads. Secondly, we do referrals. So anytime when people come to our sessions, we have a referral form that we like to do. The third is speaking engagement. So I take a lot of speaking engagements, and I recommend people to take speaking engagements. Even if you're not that important, go to your secondary school group, tell everybody that everybody should take turn once in a month and teach something.
Yes, and just speak.
Don't be the first so that they don't know you're the one that planned it. Be the second person,
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Speaking engagement is that we do a lot of selling to organizations. So we want to target CEOs and say, okay, can we do something for your people? Because sometimes an organization selling to that one key decision maker could mean multiple transactions.
Exactly.
The fifth thing that we do is that we sell to our alumni community. That's people that have bought from us before.
Right. We resell to them, yeah.
We sell to
upsell them.
Sell. We have, next is we have something called a drip list. So what's a drip list? It's all the people that I've told you that we're going to buy that haven't bought. All the people that tell you that they're going to sign up, they haven't signed up. What happens is that a lot of us just leave them alone. When you leave them alone, somebody else picks them up. And, sometimes they are very honest. They're not ready. It's not time. And then when it's time, they don't remember you. Somebody else picks them up. So we try to not. We have somebody who just came for Strategy Factory, I think last month, and he's been on our drip list for 6 years.
Hold that thought there before you continue. Hello, guys. I heard that Stephen Bartlett, the founder of he's literally the biggest podcast in the world, Diary of a CEO. He said something very powerful. He said a huge percentage of people who watch Diary of a CEO, they've not clicked on the subscribe button. I was shocked. And they have a lot of millions.
Wow.
I checked my analytics on Saturday and I realized that a lot of people who are watching my YouTube video, they've not clicked on the subscribe button. So guys, let's have a gentleman's agreement. As you're watching or listening to this, you're getting free strategy. What you can do for me in return, that's all I want from you. Click on the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. On Spotify, click on the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on Apple, there's a plus sign called follow. Click on that button. That's all I want from you. Second thing I want from you, if do you want sales strategy, sales coaching, sales training for your company's case in point, I just finished work for 1 year work for a financial service company in Nigeria. One of their salesperson alone, her name is Ego, she did $50 million in sales off the back of my work with that company. So if you want those kind of tremendous results for your team, click on the link in the bio and book a coaching session where we can have a quick chat to see if you are a fit for us to work together with your team. So let's get back to the conversation with the man, the myth, the legend, the legendary, and the bishop of strategy, Mr. Ezekiel Solesi. Let's go.
So I said, I think I've talked about referrals. I've talked about ads. I've talked about speaking engagement. I've talked about organizations. I've talked about alumni. I've talked about drip list. Then social media. So social media is different from digital ads, which is what you post every single time. You must look like what you're selling. I always tell people. So for example, we do a lot of sessions. Like in my organization, we have an average of 10 to 12 meetings a week. But the only pictures that go online are pictures that are taken by a professional. Because we want to ensure that when somebody looks at our page, they look at anything, it speaks.
It's consistent with the brand.
Quality. Exactly. It's not everything that goes up there at all, So you want to use email marketing too. Now, I must confess, in my organization at least, we haven't harnessed this as much as we can, which is one of the reasons why we had you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. For the podcast, you guys should come for the email. When I knew that email was very powerful, I did a sales training for a paint manufacturing company in Nigeria last year. Top 7 figures. The lady says to me, Paul, I've been reading your emails. I've been in your email list for 2 years. So when they made me head of sales and marketing in this company, I knew it was only you. There was a lot of objection. People say, oh, you live in England. The session must be physical. I convinced them. I closed them. So email marketing is critically important. I'll talk to your team about that.
Very much. So another thing that we do also, that's a marketing channel for us, is networking, right?
Yeah.
So we would pay for our team members to go to a lot of high-profile training, of course, to learn, but also to meet people. I would do a lot of networking myself. Another thing that works for us is WhatsApp status. It's funny, but it's a marketing channel for us.
Yes, I've heard you speak about that at the event we were in today. I thought that was brilliant.
So everybody on our team, we post WhatsApp status about 3-4 times a day. Because if you put everything in the morning, somebody might not check it. So you post it at different times a day. And then we engage people who view the status. We don't wait for them to,
Yeah, that was a key distinction. That was a very good one.
So we engage people. If somebody has viewed your status, why are you waiting for them to engage you and all that? In fact, I did something in the early stages, which is something that we started doing as another thing. Sometimes you post online, people like your post. We engage people that like our post.
Yes.
Yeah, so we go there, we go to the person's DM, we say, thank you so much for liking our post. Would you like to find out more about it? And then we go to the post and then we tag the person and say, send you a DM. So you want to just engage people.
Get the things going like that.
Sales is conversations. The more conversations are happening, the more money is coming. If silence is the death of sales, if you are not even there, but just quiet, no, we must not be quiet. Closed mouth is closed.
I like that.
So for us,
I like that.
Those are the channels that we use. They are simple. They are things that I like to focus a lot of my energy on, things that anybody can do. Doesn't matter whether you run a big business, small business, you can run digital ads, right?
Yeah.
The last thing that we also do is outdoor, but we don't talk about outdoor for two reasons. Number one, not everybody can do it. Number two, the honest truth is that we don't do outdoor advertising, billboards, and we don't do it for people to come to our events. In fact,
it's for brand equity.
No, it's not even really that. So the reason why we do outdoor, it's very funny. We do outdoor because of the speakers that we are looking to invite for the next convention. So that's why, even though our event is in November, we start our outdoor in August 1st. So from August 1st, we start writing for the speakers for the next year. Now, most often when you write, they'll be like, maybe the letter gets to them. They don't know who you are, but they're going through Third Mainland Bridge and they see you. They get to Maryland and they see you. They're in VI, they see you on the billboard. Do you understand? So now you come into their awareness.
Yeah.
As you come into the awareness, the entire team starts to look at you differently. Now the people want to come. That's why we do outdoor.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's very, very powerful.
We do outdoor because we have a couple of speakers, and where we do our outdoor depends on where those speakers are living. So
makes a lot of sense.
You know where the guy lives, you know where the guy works, you know where the guy is going to pass every day. Put a billboard there. That's why we did. That's why we do all those outdoors. Is so that we can, and yes, maybe it helps in terms of, people see it and all that. But I think only one person has paid us and told us they saw the billboard. But why are we doing those billboards? Why are we trying to attract those kind of people? We're attracting those kind of people because we have a mastermind program. And that mastermind program, our goal is to provide access to knowledge, access to markets, and access to funding.
Yeah.
And to do that access to funding part, we might need them to access certain high-profile people. Those people, for example, when somebody comes and speak at the convention, we always have them come to speak at our mastermind meeting. Because in that mastermind meeting, there are like 30, 40 people there. You can take people's number. Business can actually happen. And sometimes business in 10, 11 figures happen. So those people are the reasons why we need those high-profile speakers. And when we get those high-profile speakers, it attracts us into the mastermind program, and we're able to help them grow their businesses.
Wow, Ezekiel, this has been a very, very fascinating conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to have one more question, then I'll leave. But let me just add something to the comment thing you said. This morning, last night before I slept, I was thinking about something. I said, a comment on your post is like somebody stopping by at your store and saying, oh, I like this, your dress, or started having conversation with your staff. Mm-hmm. That's what a comment really, really is.
Exactly.
That why should somebody comment on your post and you don't engage the person?
It's pride. No, that's what it is. It's pride.
I thought that was brilliant.
No, it's pride.
Yeah. What's the one or two books that you have read, apart from the Bible? I know the Bible is a critical book for all of us, including you.
Yeah.
What's the one book that you have read that has really had an impact in your career?
So one of them is called The Heart of Success. I read that book in 2002. It's a book by Rob Parsons. It would be the number one book I think I've read that helped me define the kind of life I wanted to live. Right. Massive, massive, massive. In fact, that book influenced my life so much. I can't even speak to the extent to which my life, And of course, the other one I think amongst a lot of the other books I've read would be the classic one, Think and Grow Rich. I don't think anybody who has, who is maybe in our generation and above that wouldn't mention Think and Grow Rich. I think Think and Grow Rich was a very, very, very powerful book.
Pretty cool book, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good book.
But if I could name a few more, but The Heart of Success, Think and Grow Rich, powerful.
Wow. Where should we direct people to if they want to learn more about you? What's your next program coming up? What's it going to be? So we can put a link in the show notes. Your strategy factory or something.
Yeah. So we have Strategy Factory. It happens every month, last Friday of every month.
In a hotel, right? Is it physical?
Yes, it's a physical. It's a hybrid meeting. Sometimes people attend from abroad. But if they just follow my Instagram handle, I suppose they'll be able to get everything. It's in our bio. Every single thing is right there and then. Thank you.
This has been a great conversation. So one more question I ask is, if you could say, I really enjoyed this conversation, if you could recommend somebody to say, Paul, you need to talk to this person. In fact, I'll put a word for you on this person. Who would that be?
Someone that would come on the podcast, right?
Yes.
Who would you want? I might know the person.
You know who I want to interview?
Okay. Let's talk. I know somebody who knows the second guy very, very intimately.
Yeah, because the guy, I really dig the guy so much. I read his book. I reviewed the book on the podcast. I know he's not a media guy.
For Tony, right? You might have to come to Lagos. So I don't
know.
No.
If I can lock any of them, I'm just buy a ticket. I'll be there. Because those guys, they are big elephants. It's not.
They are massive, massive elephants.
Yeah. So,
So I would. I know somebody in our community, and even one of our speakers for last year convention sits on the board of UBA. So I can get through to her and try and see if we can make.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Ezekiel. Let me stop the recording now. This is a very good conversation.